Sup, nation? Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday. My name, of course, is Philip DeFranco, and this is where I talk about newsy type stuff and things that matter to me today. And nation, the first thing I want to talk about is the smooth and baby-like epidemic no one wants to talk about. Pubic hair-related injuries are on the rise. It's true, between the years 2002 and 2010, pubic hair-related injuries went up 500%. The most at-risk group were women, with 56.7% of the injuries, specifically the 19 to 28-year-old women. And interestingly enough, you'll notice on the graph, after the age of 29, the number of men injuring themselves goes up while women decline. The most concerning part of the graph probably being the over 65s, where the men still going at it, and the ladies have either mastered it or most likely just stopped caring. After 65, I don't think anyone's picky. Other fun stats: shaving razors were implicated in 83% of the incidents, and what was the most common injury? Laceration, with 36.6%. I never want to know what it's like to cut that. And the main point of this story is all my nightmares forever. Also, if you're a lady, just do what you want to do. Personally, I prefer enough to know that you are a lady, but not enough where I could accidentally floss. And if this is your first Philip DeFranco show, welcome. I'm a weird person. And from there, I want to share some stuff I love today, and Today in Awesome, sponsored by Netflix.com/PhillyD. Use that URL, you get a free month of in-streaming movies, pretty much any device worth a damn, and it helps out the show. And the first bit of awesome comes from a place called Death Road, which I love because with a name like that, you'd think no one would show up, but you give something a scary name and everyone shows up. Same reason I call my penis the Rod of Destruction. Granted, it is incredibly inaccurate, but it's about getting new customers, not servicing them. But I digress. The video in question is a man who attempts to base jump, and I say attempts because it ended a little bit different than I think he thought it would. The good side of this video is that he did not die, which means we can show it and we can go, yay, you didn't die. Then, in another bit of awesome that I wanted to hate because every garbage marketer out there always references cats riding skateboard videos on YouTube, and I ended up loving a cat riding a skateboard video on YouTube because it's awesome. It's one of the best ones I've ever seen. There are two cats, a remote-controlled skateboard. Yes, you win part of the internet today. Then we had the awesomeness that is Bill Gates going on to Jimmy Fallon trying to get the word out about GatesLetter.com by making a viral video that ended up actually getting traction because it's a terrible attempt at viral video. And on top of checking out this video, which is actually pretty funny, go to GatesLetter.com. It is very interesting. Then the awesomeness did not stop because a YouTuber slash filmmaker by the name of Chris R. Wilson Films decided to make something called Star Drunk, which was written and then acted out by people that were drunk. And it's amazing in large part to, spoiler alert, the drunkest person in the video surprisingly not dying on set. They also have a behind the scenes video so you can see that these people were drunk and not just acting drunk. I highly recommend checking it out, subscribing. I really hope the series does continue. And in interesting news, if by chance you would like to be a billionaire, Warren Buffett would like to have a conversation with you. Quicken Loans announced a $1 billion prize insured by Warren Buffett to anyone that could perfectly predict the NCAA tournament. For those not familiar with the tournament, they've never taken part in like an office pool where you bet some money. There are 68 teams as of 2011 that enter, although 4 of them play before everyone else, and I think that's when the official bracket starts. Although even Warren Buffett himself said there are no true odds for something like this. It's very, very random. He has his own odds in his head, but he would not tell anybody. Because all it takes is one massive upset in any of the early games to switch everything up. And the main thing here is, even if you're not into March Madness, why don't you take a swing at $1 billion? Who knows? You could be the next lucky bastard to win a lot of money and get sued by all your best friends. Which is fine, because jet skis exist. And from there, I have to talk about one of my favorite things to come out every year, just because it just oozes of stupid. The 2013 list for the most used worst passwords. And the big news this year is the king of stupid mountain has been dethroned. No longer is password the #1 password, but we're not making much progress because it was replaced by previous silver medalist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And before you start thinking you're smart by adding a 7, that's number 8 on the list. And if you add an 8 to that, it just pops you back to bronze. A 9, you drop back to 6. And if you finish the stupid person sweep to add that 0, you go to 13. A bunch of them are understandably predictable because they're just going down a line like QWERTY or just repeating like 0000 or 1111. Although my favorite on the top 25 list are the witty or cute passwords, let me in, and trust no one, ... because you suck at choosing passwords. And now you know. Then, in interesting tech news you may have seen if you checked out any tech blog today, is a claim that Facebook will lose 80% of its user base in the next few years, and that's according to a new mathematical model based on MySpace data. A model based on the adoption and abandonment of a social network. My only thing would would be to say that's apples to apples, that every social network is created equal, and that is not true. Because while I do have my issues with Facebook, specifically them changing things so that I essentially have to pay money if I really wanted to hit everyone that follows my fan page, among other things, but this model is inherently flawed because MySpace was one of the big poppers in the beginning. It was also a company that was sold to a bunch of people that didn't know how to handle it. While on the opposite end of the spectrum, say what you will about Zuckerberg, but he is not sold out. He's allowed people to buy into his own company, and they acquire things that they can see as competitors and growth markets. And ultimately, what you have are some people saying the equivalent here would be Google is going to lose 85% of its user base over the next 5 years, and that is according to a new mathematical model based off of Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves data, saying that all things related are equal and that the past will always repeat is ignorant of a changing landscape. But that's just my opinion. And nation, from there I want to talk about our BAMF of the day, and it hurts my soul when it has to be a sad story like this one. This week, an 8-year-old boy by the name of Tyler J. Doohan knew that he was not going to have school Monday, so he got permission from his mother to stay with his grandfather. He loved going there, so he went there, he went to sleep, and he woke up in the middle of the night because there was a fire. A fire reportedly caused because of an electrical problem near the front of the home. As of right now, firefighters don't seem to know if there was a fire alarm or a smoke detector or anything in there, and Tyler ran through the house, waking people up and helping them get out. He helped 6 people escape, including a 4- and 6-year-old. After helping those people to safety, he remembered that there were 2 people in the house, and he ran back into the fire. One of those men was his grandfather, and the other his disabled Uncle Steve. Unfortunately, Tyler was not able to save them, and he died alongside them. Well, part of me wants to be so angry that people that were older than this 8-year-old boy allowed him to go back into the fire. What I want this story to really be about is the bravery of this young child. A child by age, but a man by his actions, a person who put other people before himself. And that's what I want this to be about, is this boy that tried. People that try to help, they try to do good, they're often not rewarded. At the very least, we have to remember Tyler and people like him. And that's why Tyler is unfortunately our BAMF of the day. And nation, the last thing I want to talk about today was part of something I wanted to include yesterday, but I ran out of time. And that is, in the Ukraine right now, people are protesting / rioting on live stream. Like, you can actually watch a Ustream.tv feed of a possible revolution. It's amazing how small the world has become. We talked about why this is happening in the past. A big portion of it always boils down to the same thing, the economy. It's in the crapper, so the president started talking to the EU. That didn't work out, and then Russia was like, hey, look at these dollar bills. You want to come over here, president of Ukraine? And he was like, yeah, let's talk. And then many people started getting angry, saying that he was going to sell out the country to Russia. So protests started happening, things got a little crazy, then it was very peaceful for a while, and in the past week, new laws have been put in to essentially stop all protests whatsoever. Many people, including the opposition party, saying they did not go through the proper procedures to actually make this a law, saying that what they did is illegal and invalid, but as of right now, the government is viewing protests as extremism, the sentences for extremism being far worse than what they would have been, and people were infuriated. They took to the streets. News agencies saying 200,000 people, opposition party said 500,000, and now things are really starting to get out of hand. According to reports this morning, 3 people died during these protests / riots. Reportedly, 2 of those 3 died from bullet wounds, which begs the question, are they using live ammo against people? The protesters have been reportedly throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails, but then pictures came up this morning of police using Molotov cocktails, and the situation just seems to be getting worse and worse. But then a very weird tech spin to everything. This morning, the government sent thousands of text messages that read, "Dear subscriber, you are registered as a participant in a mass disturbance." And the reason for that, as the New York Times reports, is the Ukrainian government used telephone technology to pinpoint the locations of cell phone users in near clashes between riot police and protesters. So by just being next to these things, you are on a list and considered a possible threat. And if they're cutting through any red tape whatsoever and going, this is a law and we're going to enforce it, who's to say they don't just assume that you're guilty and do something to you? And it's even more interesting in my everything is kind of poetic in life for one reason or another mind, because if you think about how the government is now using cell phone technology against people, it's crazy because it is a technology and a tool that has been used to liberate people. And it's like I've said in videos before, the tools that we use for good will always eventually be used for bad. Bad just needs time to catch up. And all that said, the situation right now, it's hard to predict. Although if you did predict that protesters would make makeshift armor, set bulldozers on fire, and then drive said bulldozer, you should win a prize. Maybe not Warren Buffett's 1 billion, but maybe like several sandwiches from Quiznos. But that said, I will keep my eyes open, and as more stuff happens, I will be talking about it in these videos. But I do feel like that's the perfect way to end today's show, nation. information and bring us to the big question of the day. In what 3 main ways do you think the world will be different today than from 5 or 10 years from now? Or if that question's a bit too heady for you, how do you like the airtop situation to be on yourself and or others? I'd love to know your answer to at least one of those questions in the comments down below. Remember to possibly be pelted with a $100 Amazon gift card. Just leave a comment down below. Maybe while you're at it, you hit the like button, favorite, subscribe. Also, thanks again to the sponsor of today's show, Netflix.com/PhillyD. But, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.